So joining us now is Pennsylvania Congresswoman Madeleine Dean, a member of the House Foreign Affairs and Appropriations Committee. Thank you for being with us, Congresswoman. So talk about when Secretary Rubio came before your committee this week. How did he justify such huge cuts to the State Department's budget?
He didn't justify it at all. And those two clips showed you what has happened to Marco Rubio. What happens to anybody who in their previous life was clear-eyed about whether Putin is a war criminal, when he stole tens of thousands of children from Ukraine, invaded a sovereign nation? Marco Rubio was very clear-eyed about what that meant. But when you are a courtier to Donald Trump, you speak in passive expression. You can't say things clearly. And for the top diplomat, for the Secretary of State, not to mention National Security Advisor, archivist, and whatever else hat he's wearing, not to be clear-eyed on these things is staggering to me. You saw also how he, when he was a senator, was very clear-eyed that cutting off foreign aid didn't make a lot of sense because foreign aid, as he said then, had to do with our own national security interest. Oh, I know. The fourth hat was USAID. How could I forget?
Right.
That was one of his original hats. And he also said that won't help balance the budget. And yet, wearing his USAID hat and slashing USAID, he sat there and said, no one will be hurt. No one will die. He was clear-eyed before, and now it's very muddled. Everything is in passive voice because he is just trying to please one person.
Hey, Congresswoman, let me play you another soundbite from Secretary acting all the jobs, Marco Rubio, on Wednesday following the Supreme Court's decision on deportations. Listen to this.
Do you believe that Trump has to follow the Supreme Court 9-0 unanimous decision?
Within the context of separation of powers.
Okay.
No court can tell me how to conduct foreign policy. They can't tell me what I have to say to a president of another country, nor do I need to tell them what I told the president of another country, because I can't conduct
I'm just asking you, do you believe that Trump administration has to follow the unanimous Supreme Court
I believe we
decision?
are following it.
I mean, Congresswoman, no court can tell me how to conduct foreign policy in open defiance of the Supreme Court of the United States.
Remember, that's a simple yes or no answer. The answer is you have to follow the Supreme Court. We are co-equal branches. Secretary Rubio is a very smart man. He knows that. I want to just pivot, if you don't mind, to say what I was hoping to get from the secretary. He has an important role to play in peacemaking, to ending suffering. And so I mentioned to him the fact that we both had the privilege of last Sunday being at the installation of Pope Leo. I wanted to talk to him about the suffering in Gaza. I wanted to talk to him about the return of the 58 hostages, living and deceased. He is the top diplomat. He should be seeking to an end to the suffering, to getting aid in. Children are starving in Gaza right now. We know it. And yet we have Mr. Netanyahu, who has blocked aid for 60, 70 days now. And to me, said to my face, no one is going without. Where is Mr. Rubio on this? Why hasn't he said we will be a champion for the families of those hostages? We need to get them home first. We need to make sure Putin lives up, excuse me for confusing it. Forgive me, really. Mr. Netanyahu lives up to getting aid. I'm just dismayed at Mr. Rubio. Maybe it is because he has too many hats on, but he has some important roles to play around the world toward peacemaking. And by equivocating on whether or not Putin is a war criminal or whether or not aid is getting into Gaza is not doing his job.
I mean, you would need to have a boss who has kind of like a very easy policy prescription to follow, right? For you to be able to operate in that. That's when I talk to folks in the White House and around the administration. The confusion at the top leads to confusion at the bottom. But I think, you know, there's hardly an excuse for the equivocating on whether or not Putin is a war criminal when he was just, you know, recently saying that getting in Rex Tillerson's face about it. I do want to take a little bit of a turn to education, because you had the education secretary on Wednesday, and I want to play what you talked to her about and then talk about it on the other side.
Why are you in this job at all if you don't have a dedication to the future of our children. Why are you in this job?
I, too, am a mother and a grandmother, and I want the best for my family going forward.
Vouchers.
For my grandchildren, for my great-grandchildren, and I hope to leave a legacy that we have established best practices for education that all the states can use.
Madam Secretary, the legacy you will be leaving is that I shut down the Department of Education. How we educate our children determines not just their future, but our own.
But
I think it's a sad legacy you will leave. I yield back.
Congresswoman, not taking a mess. One of the things that's so I think people find so troubling is she was put in that position to get rid of that department. Yet you see them going against Harvard and trying to dilly-dally in what they're doing and how they operate, and telling other universities how they should be able to teach and what they should be able to teach to their school and their students, what kind of students they're allowed to have, whether they're international or not. What do you, as someone who clearly cares about the education of the people in this country, the kids of this country, where are we going? What can people do to stop some of this?
Well, thank you. We're going to a very dark place. Number one, she's completely unqualified to be the Secretary of Education. Read her testimony. It's absurd. Her first paragraph mirrors the first sentence of Project 2025, page 319, where it says we want to shutter the Department of Education. That's her final mission, she calls it, to shutter the place. And when she talks about her own children and grandchildren, I don't think we have to worry about them getting their education. Her job is to worry about every other child, to make sure every child gets an adequate and, I say, excellent education, regardless of the color of their skin, regardless of the zip code or the economic status of their parents. So she was very disingenuous, completely unqualified. And who in God's name thinks it's a good idea? If you think we're not educating our kids well enough, I told her it's a logic fallacy. Let's just do less. But I said, this is awfully Orwellian. It's 1984. We actually don't want an educated electorate. That's what the Trump administration is saying. But she doesn't get that.
But it's also no accident, right? Because like you said, it's in Project 2025, right? This is kind of exactly how they want to do. And if what you want to do is in Project 2025, then I guess maybe Donald Trump and a lot of the folks that think she should be in that job do think she's qualified to get rid of the Department of Education.
Eugene, you bring up a great point. And that's what this week was, a really dark week for this country. And what happened, whether it was talking to an unfit Secretary of Education, talking to an equivocating National Security Advisor / Secretary of State, and then you saw the two in the dark of nights holding hearings, markups on passing the big ugly budget of Donald Trump. This was a very dark moment. And I don't want anybody to not recognize that the lying that was going on, this wasn't just people fighting for their version of a budget. The Republican courtiers to Donald Trump spent day after day in syrupy lie after syrupy lie about, oh, we're not going to touch Medicaid. No, you're going to throw as many as 13.7 million people off their health care. Oh, we're not going to touch SNAP or nutrition. You're going to have the largest cut to nutrition benefits. Kids will go hungrier in this country. What a grotesque statement. And of course, they never want to tell you who it's in service to. It's in service to blowing up the deficit at the expense, at the privilege of the wealthiest 1% getting a tax break. It was a very dark set of days this week. And I really want people to pay attention to the ease with which Republican leadership lies.